Okay, this is definitely a new favorite. I love this tool. So, as you can see, there's a lot of soil moving inside the machine. And that's what you want to see. That's where that speed comes into play. So this is a nice horsepower match at 33 feet wide. I don't know that we would want to be any less than that 450 horsepower, because you want to get that 7 miles an hour plus. And you can see there's a lot of action under the machine. The discs do a good job of loosening up that first layer, and the shanks are getting underneath and breaking up that hard pen. But you can see there's a lot of flow under the machine, going through the machine. And you also want that speed to keep a consistent finish with that rubber tire packer. So again, you see the flow, you see, and if you watch carefully further up ahead on the video, you'll see during the slow motion portion, you'll see those big springs and the shanks tripping as it goes over a rock, which is exactly what you want to see. The machine is built to handle it.
8 inches need through a very hard compaction layer at about 6 inches.
And one more thing to point out here is with the depth of that frame, you know, the length of it, the depth of it from front to back, and you're gauging off the hitch pin of the tractor and the packer, which is characteristic of many of the Horsch tillage tools. It's going to have an overall leveling effect over the field, so it'll do a fantastic job of leveling ruts and tile ruts and just uneven areas in the field. I mean, you can see there's a lot of soil being lifted and distributed and then dropped. And so here you can see during the slow motion portion just the sheer volume of dirt and soil that's being lifted. And then on the front of each shank is a small twisted or spiral shaped plate. It kind of has the effect of like a moldboard plow, where it gives it a vertical spin, and that just does a fantastic job of mixing. And one of the things this particular farmer wants to do is to mix his fertilizer. In this case, there's manure spread on the field, and this allows to get a more even mixing in that vertical profile. So however deep we're going, in this case it's about 7 inches or so, to get that the nutrients deep. I just had to interrupt myself. Look at this huge shank trip right here. Check this out. Look at that. Look at all that travel. No problem. And just slams it back down. Deeper. And so you can see there's a lot of mixing action happening. You know, the discs up front will do a good job of sizing any of the residue or the dirt clods. It's moving a lot of dirt from side to side and then dropping it. Then the shanks are getting down underneath that compaction layer. But there's just a lot of action, a lot of activity to perform all of the mixing functions that are required, whether it's getting your residue into the soil, getting the nutrients, the fertilizer down into the soil, and then of course firming it back up again with these, you know, this heavy duty rubber tire packer. And what you can see here is that rear crumbler is not in play entirely. This is the first time this machine's been in the field, and I think we do have some air in the cylinders, and so at times that crumbler's in play and sometimes it's not. So I think we just need to get some air bled out of the system, and that'll come into play properly like it's supposed to. So here I just slowed it down even more for a couple of things. We can look at each individual shank spring and just watch. Yes, they have a fair amount of vertical travel when there's a big trip, but they're constantly doing their job to maintain. Like if you look, you can tell they're maintaining their horizontal fracture. They're keeping their depth. And the whole point of gauging the Tiger off of the hitch of the tractor and off the packer is so that you're never depending on anything in the middle of the frame for depth. And so those shanks, all they have to do is hold their depth, and they do a very good job of that. And also, there are depth stops in the front on the cylinders that control the depth and the height of the discs. And so very, very even horizontal fracture. And here's a better view of the job those discs are doing. You can see those are big discs. I think they're 26 inches. The hub is nearly touching the ground. So we're going in 8 to 10 inches. And so just a really nice deep cut. And with the spacing of those discs, it's a very near 100% fractured. And then, of course, the shanks are coming in behind and ripping out even deeper. So really doing a nice job of getting that full vertical profile shattered, lifted, mixed, and then dropped back down again. So again, I just want to point out, look at the sheer volume of soil action under that machine. It's just doing such a great job of mixing and consolidating. And it doesn't leave it in one particular spot. It does such a good job of even distribution under the machine. So you get your vertical fracture, you get your horizontal fracture, you get your vertical mixing, your horizontal mixing. And again, we don't even have the leveling discs in play at this point. So there's even more we can do to fine tune the finish. So that's it for now. I think it's a fairly simple tool. When you watch it working, it's pretty self-explanatory, the job that it's doing and what this machine is designed for. This is not a light tillage tool. You probably wouldn't look at this as a seedbed prep tool yet. The finish it leaves very little to be desired in terms of what needs to be done now. Just a light harrow job or just a small finishing job after this. But yeah, hopefully that gives a fairly good overview of what this tool is designed for.